to introduce our keynote speaker, day 2, Mr. Greg LaFollette. 30 years as a CPA, a national speaker, renowned national speaker, and the editor-in-chief, executive editor, of the CPA Technology Advisor. Those alone would distinguish anybody. And again, like I said, he has a list of acknowledgments and credentials longer than that. So at this time, I want to turn the podium over to the person that you really want to hear, Mr. Greg LaFollette.
If you have a question, simply stand or raise your hand or something and shout it out. There's, as long as I can hear it, we'll deal with it. If it's something that's on point, I'll deal with it right there. If it's something that we're going to come to, maybe in a few slides, I'll simply say, it's a great question, give me about 3 minutes and we'll get to it, okay? And then if you've ever been in a room full of people where one person keeps asking questions and they narrow down and they get farther and farther down, and I'm sure that person isn't in here, but if that person happens to be here, well, maybe he is here, we don't know. If that happens, I will simply say, I'm sorry, but that's outside the scope of what we're going to talk about this morning. Okay? And then lastly, if you ask me a question that I just simply don't know the answer to at all, I'll just say, I'm sorry, but that's outside the scope of what we're going to talk about here this morning. So now, I want to share with you some very specific data that I have just for the practice of public accounting. And as I walked through this with my colleagues in the other professions, they all said, boy, I wish I knew exactly this about my profession. My gut says that our professions are the same. But let me tell you what I do know about the practice of public accounting, and we can think about whether or not that's somewhere the same for your particular profession. The survey breaks billings down between what I call hobby firms, sole practitioner hobby firms of under $150,000 in billings. That's usually one person, no help, not working real hard, or maybe just starting, but it's it's that first firm. And then it's 150 to 3, 3 to 550, 550 to a mil, 1 to 2, over 2, and then the far right, all firms. And what we're looking at here is the total compensated hours, and the way that's defined in the survey that I'm looking at to get the data is how many hours did the average partner, principal in your firm, record in your practice management / time and billing system? Because many firms record civic time. Other firms don't. Some firms record different kinds of time, continuing education or things like that differently, but using the rule of large numbers and assuming that everybody interpreted or misinterpreted roughly the same, you can see across the whole thing, the average person, what? Oh, I've got one. I just don't use them. Thanks. Thank you. The average person ends up in my profession working just slightly under 2,400 hours a year. Okay. Now, when I was practicing, somebody was slacking off because I ended up working a lot more than that. This is what the high earners, the upper quartile people, ended up earning. Well, what you see, or working, I'm sorry, what you see right away, people that are VPNing into your system, okay? VPN is virtual private network. It uses a thing called PPTP, point-to-point tunneling protocol. Think of it as the internet's a big tube, and you have a little tube kind of inside it that's private. It's secure and it's private, but the sad thing is it's only private to where it begins to where it ends. And what I see so many people do is that they've got people who go home, they take their laptop home and they work at home and they've got VPN, but their people are working on a wireless connection that's not secure. So the VPN goes all the way to their router, but from there to their laptop is wide open, and everybody can look at it. So talk to your people about stuff like that. Tax return in the center. It's any job, whether you're an accountant or whatever you happen to be doing. It's any job. But we actually started with digital documents at the top, and then we talked before about digital documents kind of causing dual monitors. And then we said, well, we've got these machines, and we've got these documents, and they're PDFs, and we need to figure out how to annotate them and make marks on them so that we can review them and indicate that we've been there. So we came up with good tools there. Then we got rid of the paper file, and it used to be in our office that workflow was measured by you flowed the paper around and dropped it on somebody's desk. Well, now you can't do that anymore. So the smart firms are figuring out ways to use their software to do workflow with a special letter that I found. And I actually found this back when I was practicing. I have to pull my glasses on here. Back when I was practicing, and we were out doing an audit for an insurance company, and I found this particular letter in a file, and I want to end by sharing it with you. It says, "Dear Sir, I am writing in response to your request for additional information in box 3 on the accident reporting form. I had put poor planning in the box as a cause of my accident. You said in your letter that I should explain more fully, so I hope the following details will be sufficient. I am a bricklayer by trade, and on the day of the accident, I was working alone on the roof of a new 6-story building. When I had completed my work, I discovered that I had about 500 pounds of brick left over. Rather than carry them down by hand, I decided to lower them down by using a pulley, which was fortunately attached to the side of the building at the 6th floor. Securing the rope at ground level, I went back to the roof and attached a barrel to hold the bricks. I swung the barrel over the side of the building and loaded the bricks into it. I went back down to ground level and untied the rope holding the barrel. I held the rope tightly to ensure a slow descent of the 500 pounds of brick. You will note in box number 2 of the accident reporting form that I weigh 165 pounds. Due to my surprise at being jerked off the ground so suddenly, I lost my presence of mind and forgot to let go of the rope. Needless to say, I proceeded at a rather rapid rate up the side of the building. In the vicinity of the 3rd floor, I met the barrel coming down. This explains the fractured skull and the broken collarbone. Slowed only slightly, I continued my rapid ascent, not stopping until the fingers on my right hand were 2 knuckles deep into the pulley. Fortunately, by this time, I had regained my presence of mind and was able to hold tightly to the rope, despite my pain. At approximately the same time, however, the barrel of bricks hit the ground. The bottom fell out of the barrel. Deprived of the weight of the bricks, the barrel now weighed about 50 pounds. Again, I refer you to my weight in box number 2. As you might well imagine, I began a rapid descent down the side of the building. In the vicinity of the 3rd floor, I met the barrel coming up. This accounts for the 2 fractured ankles and the lacerations on my legs and the lower parts of my body. The encounter with the barrel slowed me enough to lessen my injuries so that when I fell onto the pile of bricks, only 3 vertebrae were cracked. I'm sorry to report, however, that as I lay on the ground, unable to stand, and seeing the barrel 6 stories above me, I once again lost my presence of mind, and I let go of the rope. Don't let go of the rope. Have a great conference. Thank you very much.